So this is Samach Beis Amud Beis. Still in the middle of some stories. Samach Beis Amud Beis, 62b. And where's that? Oh, yeah. Rab Chananya ben Chachinoi. He was talking about Talmidim Yotzim that they're allowed to leave Tkufa. Spoke about Shalom Rishus and Rishus. So up to about, what is this? 15 lines where it spreads, about 2 dots. Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi. Some more stories over here in the beginning. Morning. Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi because of the Beirav. Bishili Hilule de Shimba Chananya ben Chachinoi was going to learn in the yeshiva at the end of the Simchas Chuppah of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai got married, and I guess with Shavuot Brachos, and Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi was ready to go to learn. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai asked him to wait for him. Wait for me until I'll come with you. It means wait a couple of days till the Shabbos Mishnah over, and I'll come to learn with you together. I guess Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai himself also, right after he finished Shavuot Brachos, so he went to learn. But lo yakfala, he didn't wait. It doesn't say anything more about this part of the story. The story is going to continue about Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi, but you see that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai asked him to wait for him, and he didn't. He went right away. I don't know why the Gemara brings it down, this part of the story, since it's not going to continue with that point. I remember a Medal Kaplan, he mentioned this Gemara, and he said that even the couple of days to wait, that it makes a difference. If you have opportunity to go to learn, not to wait. He was saying that Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi wanted to leave as soon as possible, even though he would have had the company of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to come with. He said that it's not good to wait. That was his, maybe also because the opportunity is now. I don't know if the opportunity is going to happen in a couple of days. I don't know. But the Gemara doesn't say anything about that. Anyway, Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi went to learn. Azal Yosef Trey Sari Shni B'Vei Rav. He waited. He learned 12 years. He went away to learn for 12 years. After, it doesn't say how long he was married. It doesn't say how long Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi was married already. It does say Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wanted to leave right after the Hilula, right after his Simcha. But it doesn't say how long he was married. But the Lamaisi, he went to learn for 12 years. By the time he came back 12 years later, so the roads, they did construction in the city, and the roads didn't look the same, and he wasn't able to recognize how to get home. And that sounds like today a little bit, all the highways are different and stuff. Azal Yosef Aguda Denaro, so he went to the river, and he figured over there he'll find somebody that will know. Like it says a story, Shamalahi Revisa, that will call Bas Chachinoi, Mali Kultzach, Nazel. He heard a girl telling to another girl, Bas Chachinoi, so either was his daughter or from the family, at least maybe a granddaughter, but it means that it was somebody from the Chachinoi family. Fill up your basket, fill up your jug, and come, let's go. So he knew that this girl is from the Chachinoi family. Maybe it's his daughter, maybe it's his granddaughter. I guess not a granddaughter. Probably talking about they left probably soon after they were married. So probably it's not a grand, probably it was his daughter. What?
12-year-old daughter.
12-year-old daughter, right. So you see, it could be they stayed at home. They didn't go right away after Shabbat Brachos. It could be that they even had a child before they left. But here it says that he didn't know how to go home, and he heard somebody calling his daughter, so he followed. This girl is ours. It's from our family, my daughter. So he followed her to find out how to get home. I guess he didn't tell her that he's the father. His wife was sitting and sifting flour. She picked up rice and she saw her husband. So she saw her heart saw means that she understood that it's her husband, and she fainted. She fainted, probably more than fainted. She had a shock. And so she asked Hashem, to Hashem, that this poor woman that she waited 12 years, this is her reward. It sounds like she died. He davened and she came back. Maybe she went to a coma, whatever it might have been, and she got revived. So that was Rabbi Chananya ben Chachinoi. He went to learn for 12 years. He came back. He didn't recognize his home. And then when he found out how to get home, his wife suddenly saw her, and he had to daven that she should be able to live. A new story. Also, he also went to learn for 12 years in the Beis Medrash.
Excuse me, Rebbe. Are we learning that these were without reshus? Is that the point of it?
No, with reshus for sure. Without reshus, it's only is only going to be what the maximum. It says 2 or 3 years. The Mishnah says 30 days, and it says on top the Chachamim say 2 or 3 years, but this was 12 years. So this surely was with reshus.
With
First,
Rishus, but this is why it was dangerous, why they said it was dangerous yesterday?
no, yesterday they said it was dangerous because they came home late. Because
Okay, these are not coming home late and she still fainted. Okay.
because of the sudden shock that this was her husband. And not because, right, this wasn't Dafka because that doesn't say it's because he went so long. It doesn't say anything, it doesn't say anything tiny against him over here. It just says that he shouldn't have come home right away with such a surprise. Right, they didn't say I'm coming.
I don't know why you didn't tell us also that I'm your father. Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people like to make surprises. I'm not sure. Yeah. Here the Gemara is saying that it shouldn't be a surprise. So now it says Rav Chami Bar Bisa, he also went to learn for 12 years. But when he came back, he said, I'm not going to do like Rav Chanani ben Chachinoi did. I'm going to learn from his mistake. I'm not going to do like Ben Chachinoi did. I'm going to first send home a message, SMS. I'll send a message that I'm here. They should get ready emotionally. I'll Yosef Midrash. He went to the base medrash, and he sent a message to his house that I'm here. Meanwhile, while he was in the base medrash, Asa Abu Shaya Bray, his son, Abu Shaya, he didn't know that it was his son. He came and he started in the base medrash also. Yosef Kamei, have a commercial Leishmaite. He started asking him questions in Gemara, and he saw he's very smart. He saw that this young man is very smart. He felt bad. I don't have such a son. If I would have been here, I would have also raised my child to be such a child like this. And now that I went away to learn, I gained myself, but my children lost out. Then eventually he came home. They got message that he's there, and they got ready for him. Oh, great, come, and the son came in, and the father got up because this was the young prodigy that he saw in the shul, and he got up for him. Talmud Chacham was coming to learn. He thought he's coming to ask questions in Gemara again. So the wife said to him, is their father gets up for a son? He's your son. So he said, this is my son. So he thought that he felt bad that he didn't have such a son. It comes out that this was his son, even though he went to learn. Hashem made the Santa Deshmai that he should become a big Talmud Chacham even in his absence. Rami Bachama said about Rabbi Chama Bar Bisa, Achuta Meshulish Labim Heriyin. I think it says in the Pasuk in Fellas that the, how do you say this? A triple wound or stranded is not going to be snap break. So what's that means? 3 generations. 2 generations of Talmidei Chachamim is going to continue. It's not going to break easily. Who's that? Rabbi Shaya, Benosh Rabbi Chama, Bar Bisa. 3 generations of Talmidei Chachamim. This was Rabbi Moshe. He was the young man here that was the big Talmud Chacham. His father was Rabbi Chama Bar Bisa. It seems that Bisa also was a Talmud Chacham. So these 3 generations that they were Talmidei Chachamim, so it's going to continue. It's not going to snap easily. That was a story about. We had 2 stories already. We had Rabbi Chanani ben Chachinoi. We had Rabbi Chama Bar Bisa. Now it goes Rabbi Akiva. This story everybody knows. This is the story of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, Raya the ben Kalba Savua Hava. He was the shepherd of ben Kalba Savua. Chazite Drate Davidsani Amali, and his daughter, the daughter of ben Kalba Savua, saw that he was Tsanua and Mali. Tsanua means modest, and Mali means good character. Amalei, he was Amoritz. Amalei, this is the famous thing about being 40 years old. Here it doesn't say 40 years old. It doesn't say in this Gemara, but this is the Shivas Rabbi Akiva. This is Amalei. She said to him, if I'm going to be married to you, will you go to learn the yeshiva? Amala in. He said yes. He can't shalei b'tzina. She became b'kudeshes to him. Maybe it means kedushin, maybe it means nisuah. It doesn't say exactly, but they married in secrecy. And she sent him off to the yeshiva. Shamavua, her father, Ben Kalbo Savua, heard about it, and he threw her out of his house. That he was upset that she married the shepherd. Also, he prohibited her from his estate. He made a know that she's not allowed to be married from his estate. So he was a rich man. We know Ben Kalba Sabur was very rich. It says he was one of the three rich people at the time of the whole when he was going to support Tol Yerushalayim for 22 years. Azal Yosef Trey Sori Shinin Bebe Rav. He stayed in the yeshiva for 12 years. Kiyasa Isi Bade Trey Sori Alfi Talmidim. When he came, he was bringing with him 12,000 Talmidim. 12,000 Talmidim were together with him. Shamei Lahu Saba the Kamala, and he heard when he came close to the house, he heard an old man telling his wife, probably outside. He was outside, and he heard the old man speaking to his wife who was inside. Kama Kad Midbaras Almunas Chaim. How long are you going to continue conducting live widowhood. That means even though your husband is alive, you're like a widow. The fact that he's so far away. So he was like telling her, what are you doing that your husband is away? And that's how you live like a widow. If you listen to me, he would stay another 12 years. I want him to stay. So Akiva heard that, so he turned around. I'm doing it with permission. I mean, she allowed me another 12 years. He stayed another 12 years with Beirav.
I would say Beratza, but not Bereshut, because he didn't ask her.
That's for sure. She said she wants him. That's called that she wants. She says if he listened to me, he would say no. That's called rishus. If he listened to me, I would say they stay another 12 years. So she said, everyone asked the kasha, why didn't he go in and say hello and stay for a couple of days? So that's the word that they say. And I think that the first shot is because if he would have gotten in, he wouldn't have come out. Either because of his wife would have changed her mind, he would have changed his mind. Of course, it was a big mysterious nefesh. But in Seichel, he knew that she was masking. She was masking in Seichel. He was masking. So he did it. But if he would have gone in, he wouldn't have come out again.
What did you say Mali is?
Which
The
word?
quality.
Mali, good. Mali means good.
Good.
So I said good means good character. So he stayed another 12 years, and now he came back after that, 24 years already. Kiyasa, I see Bade. Just I point out that he had 12,000 Talmidim that were with him the first time also. Yeah, but he had 12,000 Talmidim, and then he heard his wife talking. He said, "Oh, 12,000, they whole 12,000, they went back with him." That probably I could hear it didn't make double, but it didn't make a big commotion the first time. Like he would have thought that she would have come out the first time also. So 12,000, they're probably down the block, and then he turned around and he said, "We're going back." Here after another 12 years, he came back. Yes, I see, but they asked him about Talmidim. Now he came back with 24,000 Talmidim. And now she heard about it. Have a kanaf she was going to greet him. Her husband's coming. Her neighbors told her, borrow clothing and get dressed and covered. Means go out. She didn't have to. She was a poor lady. She was poor. We see she was poor. And her father didn't have anything for her. Rabbi Kiva didn't get any stipend over there. Didn't send her any money. She was most nefesh. And she was poor. She didn't have nice clothing. So the neighbor said, put on a nice clothing.
She knew it was her husband.
She knew it was her husband, yeah. I saw somebody says not, but I don't. She knew it was her husband. Amaluya, there tzaddik nefesh behemto. The tzaddik knows the soul of his animal. So she's saying he knows me. He knows me. She calls herself like a bach. No, she says that the tzaddik knows me. So what does it mean to say? I think that I don't need the fancy clothing. I suffered that he in poverty that he should be able to learn. So he knows me. He doesn't have to have the nice clothing. On the contrary, he knows the mysterious nefesh that I did. Kimati legabe, when she came to him, nafla alapa. She fell on her face and she was kissing his foot. The shamish was pushing her away. A woman comes to kiss the feet of Rabbi Kiva. He didn't know that I was his wife. So Kiva said, leave her. All my Torah, all your Torah, everything is hers. But the father, that he heard that a big man's coming. He didn't know that it's his. He didn't know that this Akiva is his Akiva. That a big man's coming to the city, the Masa to the city.
I'm sorry, it starts Hushama.
No, who? Shaliv Shalachem Shallahu. Shama Abu Adasa Gabi Rabbi Lamasa. Her father heard that a big man, Talmud Chacham, is coming to the city. Amr Ezel Lagabe Epsha the Mefinidroid. Let me go to him. Maybe he's going to be mata my nether. I made a nether, and maybe he wanted to mata his daughter from the Nechasim. She wasn't allowed to have any benefit. 24 years already, and now he had second thought. He wanted to reconsider and do mata nether that I'll find the Pesach somehow that I didn't mean it under such circumstances, and he didn't know that this was Rabbi Kiva. Also, like he came to the big Talmud Chacham that came, and Rabbi Kiva was trying to find for him a Pesach. Did you make the nether if on the tzad that even if it be a Talmud Chacham? A big Talmud Chacham. No, even if anything, he didn't know anything. This Akiva, this man that she took, my shepherd, he didn't know one parak. If it would have known one thing, I wouldn't have made that nether. Amalei, I know. It is I. And this was the Akiva that he had 24,000 Talmidim. He fell on his face and he kissed his foot and he gave him half his estate. End of that story. Next story. The daughter of Rabbi Kiva did the same thing to Ben Azai. Also 12 years, maybe 24, I don't know. That's how the saying goes, that a sheep goes after the sheep. Just like the mother, so to the daughter. That the daughter learned from the mother's way, the same way that the mother was most nefesh for Torah to let her husband go for 12 years, 24 years, so too did the daughter learn from that. Tais has a kasha that other places it says Ben Azai didn't get married, and here you see that he got married. So Tais says to Pshat in the over there says either he didn't get married, only Erison, Tais says maybe only Erison, or if he did get married, then it says divorced, then it could have been that this was that they got divorced afterwards. He wasn't able to handle any kind of a marriage. But here it says that she did have Erison at least, and he went to learn at least 12 years. That was the story of Ben Azai. One more story. Rav Yosef Brei the Rava. Shadrei Avu Allah Bei Rav Lakamed Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef Brei the son of Rava. That's the famous Rava. He had a son of Yosef. He also had a Rebbe Rav Yosef. So Rava sent his son Rav Yosef to learn by Rav Yosef. He sent him. Shadrei Avu Allah Bei Rav Kamed Rav Yosef. His father sent him to yeshiva before Rav Yosef. Paskalei Shichni, and they made up that he'll learn there for 6 years. Kiavat Lashni, when it was halfway through by 3 years, he came to Yom Kippur, and he said, "I'll go home Yom Kippur. I'll go home. I'll come back again another 3 years, but make a hefsek over here of after 3 years." And she basically let me go see my family. I'm not sure chazinu means to see or chazinu means to be seen. Chazinu, I'm not sure if it means I'll see. He wanted to go see his wife. His father, Rava, his father heard, and he took a kli. The word Rava means a kli, like some kind of club or something like that, some kind of stick. And he came out like he's coming to battle him. What are you doing coming back? You remembered the word Zunaschan is like a zone. You didn't wait for the 6 years. Some say that he told them, you remembered your dove, your nascha, means your wife. Itrid, and they got into a argument. Nobody had the Sudam of Sekes before Yom Kippur. This was Yom Kippur, and neither one was able to have the Sudam of Sekes. They didn't eat before the fast. They went into the fast with this argument. Should he have come back or shouldn't he have come back? They made up to stay for 6 years, and he came back afterwards after 3 years for a break, and his father was upset at him.
The last part was Itrod.
Itrud means like they got Tarud.
Yeah.
They were in the argument. They were arguing. Rashi says Rava and his son. Itrud, Osam Riva. They got involved in that argument. Rashi, third line from the top. Yeah, for sure. But that machlokas here, if it was the right thing to do. So all these stories about the Chachamim that they went for a long time to learn. And how come they had to go away from the household? Because in the household they couldn't learn with them being home. If they're in the same city, they wouldn't have learned the same amount. So that's why both of them decided that sure, so everything was what the woman wanted. If she wouldn't have wanted, he wouldn't be allowed to go more than 30 days. But the women wanted to. Tosfos says even that they initiated it. That's why, even though the Gemara said, according to one shot, that it's not advisable to go b'shus more than 30 or 30 and then 2 months to stay home. But they did it. They were allowed to. Tosfos says because since the woman initiated it, so he wasn't trying to persuade her. So that's more reason to be able to rely on it. And the other they went for 10 years, for 12 years, 6 years. New Mishnah. This is the din of Moredes and a Mored. The word Moredes literally means they rebel. And that means that she's not doing her responsibilities. The woman has responsibilities, we said before, and so does the husband. And if they don't do their responsibilities, what do? How does Bezdin deal with it? Of course, it's not supposed to be this way. But here the question isn't Bezdin. Why does Bezdin have authority, power to make things, people should fulfill their responsibilities? I'm a Moredes al Baila. The Gemara is going to say, we'll see, the Gemara is going to come out that everybody holds Mishnahs at least talking about relations, that the woman doesn't want to have relations or the husband doesn't want to have relations. So that's going to be the Mishnah. And maybe the Mishnah is even talking about Malacha also, that she's not doing her responsibility for her chores. So, and the husband's not bringing in Parnas, so that'll be another subject. But at least we can learn the Mishnah of Kipshuta that is talking about relations. The Moredes means the woman who doesn't want to have relations, and the Mored is going to be the man who doesn't want to have relations. And the poskim, it's going to come. Yeah, we'll see the Gemara read that they're doing it because they want to pain the other one. They're doing it maliciously. I'm a red as al baila. Pochsin la miksubasa. Maliciously means even if the other one did something doesn't mean that they started up everything. But even if it's the other one did something wrong, but to use this as a tool is also called a meredes. So the woman that she's not having relations in order to pain her husband, or the husband is not having relations in order to pain his wife. So pochsin la miksubasa shibud dinam b'Shabbos. They minimize, they take down, they deduct from her ksuba. I mean, she has the ksuba coming to her that if she ever gets divorced or her husband dies, she has a ksuba coming to her, 200 zuz. So they start deducting that the ksuba, even if eventually it is going to be payable, but she loses out. She loses out 70 dinar. The dinner is a zuz. There are 200 zuz. Ksuba is 200 zuz. So each week that she still remains in her state of mirida, she loses 7 every
So
week. That
You
she,
mentioned the Baal also, so if it's the Baal, they would add.
that's right. That's coming right. That's true, and that's the end of the Mishnah. That's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be the other part of the Mishnah where it's also highlighted. So far, it's the woman. If she's not agreeing to have relations in order to pay him, so then they deduct permanently from the ksuba 7 dinner, which is a zuz per week. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shiva Tapekin. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says half a zuz. They say that a tapek is half a zuz. So he's being more lenient on her, that she only loses 3.5 zuz a week, 7 halves. Ad masay poches, how much does he keep deducting? Ad connected subasa until they go down to 200, until the whole 200 is over. And then if he wants to, he could divorce her without ksuba. If he wants to divorce her, he could divorce her at any time. The husband could divorce his wife, but then he has to pay ksuba. But now he starts deducting. And if once he deducted the whole ksuba, so now he can divorce her without giving her ksuba. It sounds like he can't divorce her right away. He can't divorce. If he divorces her right away, even though she's being omeredes, that's not grounds for the immediate divorce. He would have to give a ksuba. But now we're diminishing it when we're deducting every week 7 dinner. Once it gets to 0, then he can divorce her without ksuba.
Did you read Rabbi Yossi?
No. Rabbi Yossi Amar lo olam upoches v'holech ad she'im tipa lo Yerusha Makamacha go b'Yemena. That you continue, if he doesn't divorce her, even after the ksuba came down to 0, we continue the clock going. We continue the calculator going, and another minus now goes into the minus already. What does that mean? That now she owes him. And even if she doesn't have any money, if she we learned the beginning of the parak. I mentioned Moredes over there. Over there it said about Tesefes Ksuba. Tonight Ksuba Kiksuba, that if she's a Moredes, so then we diminish, and over there it says you diminish the Tesefes Ksuba also. If he, besides giving 200, he added on his own, he said more than 200, so that also goes into the cheshbon. You also deduct that also till it gets to 0.
I think we got to the point where it's so that when she gets to 0, they don't take any more.
Now this is Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says that you do go, even though you do a minus also. Tanakama says you stop over there. If he wants to divorce, he divorce her. If he doesn't want to, he can keep her. But it's nothing else is being deducted. But Rabbi Yossi says you put her into the minus even, and now she owes him.
Outside.
If she has, if she has,
Outsider from
and even if she doesn't have it yet, if she's ever going to get it, she owes him money. If it's going to come to her inheritance from someplace else, so he's going to be able to take that. She owes him money. Surely, if she has nechasim, so according to Rashi says, according to Tanakama, you don't take away her nichsei malug, the estate that she owes, that she brought into the marriage. Rashi says that according to Tanakama, you don't take that either. You don't take that away from her. You just deduct the 200 till it's 0, and then he can give her a get without giving her a ksuba, but he will have to give back the nichsei malug that she brought in, the nichsei tzon basil. He'd have to give her that back. But if Yoshi says no, that surely even that you deduct also. Not only that, even if she has no money at all, so you put out a minus. Now she owes money. She's gonna, and even if she has nothing now, if she ever gets money, she'll have to pay him. That's all to pressure the woman to stop this mirida, that she should live as a husband and wife do. So too, if he is being rebellious, that he's not doing his obligation to his wife, he's not having relations. So it doesn't say that we forced him to divorce her, but every week you add on 3 dinner. It's interesting. By the woman, you deduct 7, and here you add on 3. That needs explanation. The Gemara is going to talk about why it's not the same. It doesn't say here why it's 7, why it's 3, but the Gemara is going to talk about why is there a difference. It should be the same amount. For some reason, when the woman is a moredes, she loses 7 dinner a week, and the husband is being a mored, so then he loses. Doesn't mean he loses. That they add on to the ksuba 3 dinner per week. And again, it says not 3, but 3 halves. Could she demand the divorce? Could she demand the divorce right away? Doesn't say. So it says in the postscript that she could. The Rambam says she could demand the divorce right away, but if she wants to hold out, she'll get more ksuba. But I don't see the in the Mishnah. You're right that by the man, by the moredes, if he divorces her right away, he has to give a ksuba, and if he waits it out, so then it gets deducted he may put on this pressure and she's losing, and maybe she'll give in. Whatever he divorces her, there's a cheshbon how much ksuba he owes her. And if he divorces her right away, he owes her the ksuba. But by the moraid, it doesn't say if she could demand the get. But poskim seem to say that she could. But if she right away, that's interesting. Why should there be a difference? I don't know the difference.
Yeah, why is it- well, I don't see any difference. He could,
If he divorces, when someone's doing something wrong, so it should be that if the woman's doing wrong, she should be divorced without a ksuba. If the husband's doing wrong, then she should be able to force him to get a get and get ksuba.
Right.
And by the husband, it says if he divorces her, she right away she doesn't lose ksuba. It just says that you start deducting, you make a husband. But if he divorces her right away, as soon as she starts being a moredes, he's gonna have to give her the full ksuba. And how about by a woman, but a man who's being a mored, does the wife have an option of demanding a ksuba right away?
yeah, because she, if the ksuba is hers, she owns Matayim.
Not if she owns it. The husband has to give it to her.
You even explained once that she has a schus to 200.
Yes.
So she if he's not yet, she could demand again, and she gets the 200 zuz.
And the other way, how come if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, why, if she's not doing, why doesn't she lose her ksuba? It's not, this shouldn't be the same thing,
No, she doesn't lose it. Why should she lose a ksuba?
because she's not being a good wife.
Because she didn't. It's every week. If she just decided, but she didn't do anything wrong there.
She's doing wrong. She's Meredith. She's a Meredith. She's a,
So every week he'll take off. But in the
why not,
meantime,
why
she's
not,
on-
he get divorced, why can't he divorce her and
He
say you're
can't
not being,
divorce her.
nobody has to give a ksuba, why should they have to give a
Because
ksuba?
she had that schus until she does every. The status, he's starting off with 200 schus, right? A woman married owns 200 schus.
She's only eligible for it
She divorced.
if he divorces
I think
her.
he wants to
and now he wants- now he wants-
She the etzem has it. She only gets when she divorces.
So therefore what? So therefore this makes sense. How come when he divorces her, even though it's her fault,
Right, but
he-
till she acts up, till she gets punished.
she's
She has to.
so shouldn't the punishment be that she should lose ksuba? Not
She's
necessarily
only been for an
for
hour.
1 week.
For an hour. But once she's there for a week, then she starts losing.
And the other way, if he's morid, she could demand she could demand the whole ksuba. She could demand the get and also get the ksuba. Okay, I'm not sure if I understand it, but okay, I'm saying that it's not difficult. That's what, and the Mishnah doesn't say about her demanding a get. It doesn't say. I'll tell you on the bottom, it doesn't say if she could demand the divorce.
Oh.
It just says that we add on, but that means you can add on indefinitely, and he doesn't plan on divorcing her, and he just wants to be a morid, and he doesn't plan on dying, if whatever, but eventually, if he dies, so then she'll have a bigger ksuba. But it doesn't say if she could demand the get, but Tosfos and the Rambam, both of them, I think, say that she could demand a get. Okay, fine. That's the Mishnah. What does it speak about? This is the din of moredes or mored, and it says by the woman we deduct from the ksuba, by the man we add on to the ksuba. And the question was how much? The Tanakhama says only the 200. The verse says even go into her own property, and even if she doesn't have it yet, you also put it on the bill. Moredes mimai. What is she being a moredes about? What does she do? So the Gemara starts. I said the Mishnah is talking about tashmish, that they're not having relations, either he or she. And the Gemara starts off with a machlokis, and we'll get to the end of the Gemara that's going to be a good shot. But just to start the Gemara, as if there are two opinions. Rav Huna says that the issue is that they're not having relations, either because she's not or he's not. Rav Huna says that she's not doing the work that she's supposed to do. The first round of work means the 7 malachas that it talks about. The 7 cooking and baking and laundry and nursing the child and also whatever the woman is supposed to do. Before it says 7 things she's supposed to do. So that is the issue, that she's mored from doing her responsibilities of work. Tanan, the Gemara wants to prove which one is right. So far we're saying each one has no the other one. One says dafka tashmish, the other one says dafka mamulacha. So Gemara is a proof in the Mishnah. It says amor alishto. The same case is going to be by a man. First it says moredes, then it says a mored. She didn't do her responsibilities, he didn't do his responsibility. The same responsibility. If it means tashmish, so it's just like she is holding back from relations, he's holding back from relations. She's a mored, she's a mored. If it's talking about that she's not doing the chores,
What is the word l'chaim?
that's all good. I don't know if it means literally to life, Well, it means that that's fine. Everything's good.
Thank you.
Does the husband have to work for his wife? The wife has to work. The husband doesn't have to work. Now, the truth is, of course, he has to support her. But the Gemara thinks that that's not called work. He has to support her. He doesn't have a chiyuv to do work. He has a chiyuv to give her money. If he has money, fine. There's no, by the woman, there's a chiyuv to work. So how could you say that the Mishnah is talking about the work of the woman, that it's talking about the work of the man? The man has no work. That's not his issue. The Gemara says, yes, many is on is many that he says, I'm not giving parnasa. That's what it means, malacha. It doesn't mean malacha working. It means the thing that people work for. If he happens to have money or not, that's not the subject. There is no chiyuv of the husband to work. The chiyuv is to support her, however he has money. But the Mishnah means that also. So the case would be that he's not giving parnasa. He's not giving.
What did the man say? I won't support.
Right. I'm not giving support. I'm not giving parnasa.
Amy,
I am not.
What kind of a proof is that? I thought he has to give her support.
And he's saying he's not going to do his responsibility. That's what he's saying.
Oh, that's the example of
Not doing
of
work.
malacha.
Right. It doesn't mean not
that
doing
he's
work.
being worried. This is an
Right. By
example
saying
of
I'm not
work.
giving you parnasa, it doesn't mean that he's not working. He has no obligation to work. He has obligation to feed. So he's not feeding. I don't care how he gets the money. The point isn't the work. The point is feeding. So she says, I'm not doing working. I'm not doing my work that I'm supposed to be doing. And the case opposite, contrasting that would be that he says, I'm not going to support you. So that's the case of the Mishnah. You can say it's talking about not relations, it's talking about malacha. And her way of saying that is saying, I'm not going to do the chores that I'm supposed to be doing. And he says, I'm not going to give you the parnas that I'm supposed to be doing. That's called a more raid. The Mishnah says in this case that he's a more raid. So you increase the ksuba, three dinner a week. But the concept is, the Rav said, if someone doesn't get parnasa, then right away she has grounds for divorce. She could. This is where it does say it. I forgot that the Gemara says so. That she could force a divorce with ksuba. So Yotzi, he has to give out. He has to take her out. He has to give her a get. He has to divorce her. We force him to divorce. If he doesn't get parnasa, we force him.
Proves that it is more.
No, but it's worse because the Mishnah doesn't say Yotzi eating ksuba. The Mishnah says that you increase three dinner a week. I should have remembered this when I said in the Mishnah. This is not a Rambam. It's by parnasa. We talk about Taisa talks about tashmish, and the more talks about parnasa. Here it says if the husband says I'm not giving parnasa, right away she can go to Bezdin and demand a get and ksuba.
And there's going to be a kasha.
That's a kasha because the Mishnah says that you increase the
Just
ksuba
increase,
right. Not that right away she has grounds for divorce. The Gemara says it's not a contradiction. Don't you have to ask him? Don't you have to ask her, ask him? That is a process. Means it's true. She has the right to get a divorce right away. But you tell them, are you going to support her until they come to the negotiations, till the actual divorce? So then you increase till it happens. Means that she has the time right away. She got a Bezdin. My husband said he's not giving me parnasa. So right away there's grounds for divorce, and Bezdin calls them and they talk till they come to the decision of getting the divorce. So then the ksuba is increased 3 zuz every week.
So Amluchi.
To take counsel, to ask him, to speak to him, to ask him, what does he want to do? We told the husband, that if you're not going to give parnasa, you're going to have to divorce and give it ksuba. So he's hemming and hawing, and I'll think about it and come back tomorrow, come back next week. So every week that he has not giving her parnasa, so they increase. So it's not a contradiction that they increase it until it happens, but she has the right to demand right away. And Tosfos will say the same thing as by Tashmish, that she has the grounds for divorce right away, but till he divorces, so they increase the ksuba 3 zuz a week.
So are we saying?
We still have two pshat.
We still have two pshat.
Right. And take out the 2 dots because we haven't finished. The 2 dots is a mistake. It doesn't belong here. The Gemara is still in the middle of the discussion. These 2 dots over here, you could erase if you want. Meisvei, Akasha from a Brisa. The Brisa says that this issue of Moredes, Achas li Arusa, Unesua, Vafilu Nida, Vafilu Chola, Vafilu Shemeres Yavam. That this case of Moredes is even the Arus, not only Nesua, Arus also could be Moredes, and also a Nida could be Moredes, and also a sick woman could be Moredes, and also a Meres Yavam could be Moredes. So that's what I was going to ask. They was going to jump that if it makes sense, talking about Malacha or talking about Tashmish. I think that the first kasha everybody would jump up is what's in parentheses over here, and it's going to be spoken about in the Gemara Namud Beis. That how's the part talking about Tashmish? If it's Tashmish, what's the case of a Arusa who's married from Tashmish? There is no Tashmish by an Arusa or by a Nida or by a Chola. Like there is no Tashmish. So we have to have the Gemara for that. Here's in parentheses, we'll see it soon. But we're going the Gemara the way it does say it, bottom line. Bishlam Lamad Amar Tashmish.
So that, I'm sorry, are the parentheses part of the
No,
process?
yeah, no, it's a Gemara, and we're skipping it as if it doesn't say it, because it's going to be an Amud Beis. In our Gemara, it says an Amud Beis, not over here, so we're going to skip the parentheses. If you have the Kasha, just see that it's going to be asked later. The Gemara is going to ask the Kasha, what's the problem of a Nida or an Arusa saying we're not having relations? Of course, they can have relations.
What's
come
the
back.
objection here?
Bottom line. Ishlam Amanda Amar Mitashmish. We're skipping the parentheses, we'll come
Yeah.
back to it
Yeah,
later.
okay.
Ishlam Amanda Amar Mitashmish, Hani the Tani Chola. If the issue is Tashmish, then the Bryson makes sense that she is sick and she says, I'm not going to.
That become redness.
I'm on page, just turn the page. Ella, Lamanda Amar Mamalacha, Chola Bas Malachahi. Does she have to do work? If she's sick, she doesn't have to do work. The Gemara understands that Chola also would have relations.
That a chola would have relations.
Would have
but she
relations.
wouldn't be able to work.
Right. And therefore the Gemara is saying, how can you say it's talking about that she's meredes from work? If she's chola, she can't work. So that's not called a meredes. That's what the Gemara seems to ask. So the Gemara says, because of this brisa, we see it's talking about tashmish. It's talking about relations. And therefore, even a nida, even a chola, as we'll see soon, it's possible to have a meredes even by a chola and a nida and a rusa. But it must be talking about tashmish. That's the pshat in the brisa over here. But the machlokas is it also a meredes if she doesn't work? If she doesn't agree to relations, she's only called a meredes, and that's what the brisa is talking about. Why?
We're talking about a chola.
That's the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara is going to ask it soon. It was asked on the Aleph in parentheses. We skipped it. The Gemara is going to talk about it soon. The Gemara is going to talk about it soon. The Gemara is going to talk about it soon. But the Gemara just proves in this brisa that we're talking about tashmish for sure. And are we also talking about malacha? That's going to be the machlokas. That one madam says that there's a meredes from malacha also. That if she doesn't do malacha, it's also a reason to diminish her ksuba 7 zuz a week. And the other one will say not.
And the malach, are we talking about the wrapping the 3 threads? That has nothing to do with
The 3 threads. The person who made those pictures, you have to throw it out. Like that 3 threads does not do with 3 threads. Nothing. The 3 threads was a mistake. They put the picture in from a second Shabbos. Doesn't belong here. Right, nothing to do with 3 threads.
But what did the woman have to do?
She spins thread.
So is that what the malacha?
That's one of the 7.
Is
One
that
of the
a
7.
malacha?
So it's one of the surely one of the malachas. The other malachas also maybe.
That's
That's
not the spinning on the threads.
Yeah.
Okay, forget the thread.
not the 3. So yeah, so she's being worried and she's not doing what she's supposed to do.
That's not the only one you're saying?
There's also cooking and
Oh, that's all called
that's-
malacha?
l'chora.
Making
L'chora.
the
May
bed
the
or
Mepharshim talk about this.
Anything that's not for tashmish.
Right. It could be that this is questionable. Maybe this one point, if malacha is talking about the other chores in the house also, or only the income that she makes. For the income, if she doesn't say, she's allowed to say, "Oh, I'm not going to work and I won't get mizonos." That's
She's allowed to-
That's one for one. We
that's
said
not
any
malacha.
design. So the chora will mean that she's not doing the chores she's supposed to do. She's not doing laundry. She's not cooking. She's not baking. She's not nursing.
Okay.
So is that a reason to diminish her, to deduct from her ksuba 7 zuz a week? So one says yes, one says no. Keep fleeing in melacha. Ma'asava memelacha lo havim meredes, and ma'asava memelacha nam yavim meredes. That's machlokes.
No, several malacha.
That the malacha, if she's not doing malacha, that's not considered meredes. She's doing wrong, but that doesn't make it into the classification called meredes, where she loses 7 zuz a week. And the other one says it's also.
They don't
Everyone
give-
says
They don't give a score?
doesn't say as far as so
It
it's
just
not,
says it's an argument.
right, and it's not as bad. Taisha says, okay, Taisha has a maybe leave out the Taisha. Taisha talks about it. What do you do? She doesn't want to do the chores of the house. The husband comes home. There's no supper. There's no laundry. Everything's the kid. The kid is screaming. He's not nursing. What else you have over there? And so the question is that a reason? So
So
Bezdevil,
Rebbe, are we saying that Rebbe Yossi didn't disagree with Tashmish? She only was adding that
Right.
it could also be.
right. When the one said Meredith be married, when it says
and the
Tashmish,
first one
everybody
that said
agrees.
Tashmish,
He says only Tashmish, only Tashmish.
Okay.
Rabbi Shapachina says even Malacha.
Uh-huh. That's the
He
Mara.
says, even Malachi.
Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, Amar Aleph, 10 lines from the bottom.
First part of the Gemara.
To Meredith be married, Rapuna Amar be Tashmish, Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, Amar even Malacha. First, the Gemara thought that they're arguing about
The Mar Malacha, but
Both.
really it means Af Malacha.
right,
Even.
and he says only Tashmish,
Okay.
and that raises a machlokus. The Gemara continues. Gufa, What do? You deduct from a ksuba 7 zuz a week. Gufa amred es labayla. 7 half zuzim. Okay, that we had in the Mishnah. But now the Gemara continues with a brisa, it seems. Our teachers, they made a different vote. They voted again. They voted, Nimdu means to vote, but they made a new takana, different than the Mishnah. That was the original takana. That's the way that you pressure the woman or the man by deducting the ksuba. But then they had a different method. It could be that the methods changed according to the generations that did the pressure work or not. So people changed. So maybe that takana changed. But
You're saying this is the brisa?
it seems so. Yeah, it seems it's a brisa.
Mhm.
So they made a different takana, how to pressure the woman if she's a moredes. First, the original pressure was to deduct 7 zuz a week, and now they're different. That they announce publicly that she's a moredes 4 Shabbosos in a week, in a row, 4 consecutive Shabbosos. Some say it means Shabbos. Some say that it means 4 weeks, the whole week, every day. We'll see soon that they do it in public in the shul. They announce in all the shuls that this woman is a moredes, and that's supposed to pressure her to give in.
I'm assuming they don't say which part of Meredith. She's Meredith. They don't say if she didn't do Malach.
If you hold Meredith is only Tashmish, so then that's what it means. That's what a Meredith means. By saying the word Meredith, you mean Tashmish. If you
A
hold,
little, what do you call it? It doesn't sound like
Personal.
akin to being base magistrate. Yeah.
okay, they say the word Meredith. They say Meredith. Meredith al-Baila. Today's culture is very different, of course. It wouldn't work today. The whole thing, also, they wouldn't get nothing to get back to again. Like, there's no marriage. The whole thing is over. Okay, it depends on the people. So they made a takana that they should announce 4 Shabbosos. Some Rishonim say it means Shabbos, 4 Shabbosos in a row. Some say it means the whole week, 4 weeks in a row, continuously every day. The Shulchan Law, Bezdin, and Bezdin also sends her a message. Have you das? You should know. This is the message they sent her. Shafiluk sobasech maya mana if sadat. That even if your ksuba is 100 mana, a huge ksuba, you're losing everything. They don't do the whole thing about minimizing 7 a week, and it takes a long time to get it down to nothing. They wait 4 weeks by announcing that's a month, and they say if you're not going to give in, so then you're going to lose the whole ksuba, one shot.
How far did you get?
Till the word of
Ifsadat.
sadat, if sadat.
Ifsadat period.
Yeah, period. And then the brisa continues. It's still the brisa, but it's a new achas li arusa unesua. This was the brisa was quoted on Amud Aleph to prove that it's talking about tashmish. This halacha applies to arusa and even arusa, afilu nida, afilu chola, afilu shemes yavam. All this was quoted before to prove that it's talking about tashmish. But this was under the brisa, and now comes the kasha everybody was asking for, and the Gemara printed it before, but they put in parentheses because it's not there. It's over here. What's the case of what we read as from Tashmish? If she's a nida, if it's malacha, you can say malacha that she's not the malacha when she's a nida. Also has nothing to do with each other, nida and malacha. But nida bas tashmishi. What's the kind of meredis? She can't have a relationship if she wanted to. So that's because she says I'm not going to. Is that a meredis? It's a big difference. If his wife is a nida, but he knows that as soon as she won't be a nida, she's there for relations, so he feels good. But if she says I'm not going to have relations, even if I wouldn't be a nida, I happen to be a nida.
She says it while she's in it.
Right, even though she's a nida, that still is considered a meredis because she's taking away the paspasala. Period. So that was the kasha, and that was the teretz. That's how I learned the brisa before that it's talking about tashmish, and there is a tashmish, there is a meredis even from a state of rusa also. She can't have tashmish, but if she says I wouldn't have tashmish even if I'm going to be in the sewer, that's a meredis. And neither also a chola, even if she can't have relations, it seems it's also a meredis, even though she can't physically have tashmish maybe, but the fact that she says I'm not going to, that takes away paspasala. I'm a little bit, and Shemesh Yavam also, they're not having yet relations, but she's saying I'm not going to, even though I'm going to get married. The Gemara in Tap, that's the kasha that by malacha wouldn't make a difference if she's chola. I guess there's no paspasal over there. Maybe ask kasha over there also that even though she's sick and she doesn't have to do malacha, but she says even if I wouldn't be sick, I wouldn't do malacha. That the Gemara didn't consider. That the Gemara considered there must be a case of tashmish. I didn't go into it, but it seems that that's not a problem. Only if she actually can do malacha or not. The paspasalo doesn't help him if he's going to eat or not, but the paspasalo does help him for his urges. So if he knows that his wife is available, when she'll be available, so then it's he's asked paspasalo, and if she says no, so then even though she's a nido and arusa, also it takes away from his paspasalo and his grounds for a moredis. The more continues. Amar Rami Bar Chama. In Machrizin Allah, El Bate Knesses, Bate Midrashos. Where do you announce? In public, in the shuls, in the Bate Knesses, Bate Midrash, they make the announcement for Shabbosos or 4 weeks in a row. That's what the Brisa meant when it said that you announce. That's where you
As
announce.
opposed to the public square or something?
Maybe.
What are they trying to do?
Or maybe opposed to
Just saying
Bezdin
that.
or something in Bezdin, they go to the shuls where it's public.
Uh-huh.
I'm a rabbi, they can only do Tani, Yabba Shabbos, Azuach, Azu, Shmamina. So Rashi learns that the fact that it says, Rashi doesn't mean Shabbos means only Shabbos, not the weekdays. It means Shabbos. And the fact that it says Shabbos, it means Yamim Shein Be'en and Shem Malacha, but Kol Mitzuim, but like Nishis about the Midrashos. That the fact that it says Shabbos, it means on the Shabbos days, on the Shabbos. And Shabbos means that it's in a place where everybody, why Dafka Shabbos? Because that's where everybody gathers on Shabbos. The weekday minyan is not as big as the Shabbos minyan. Shabbos minyan is a big minyan. Everybody comes. So that's the reason that there must be, we mean, but the Knesset, but the Midrashah, so else it wouldn't make sense Shabbos. Where's everybody on Shabbos? They're not in the Bezdin, they're not in the town square, they're in the shuls.
Because we thought it meant weeks, right?
So there are two pshatim in the Rishonim. Rashi is going that it means Dafka Shabbos. But I saw that the Rambam says means every day. Maybe the Rambam will do a different pshat now, Gemara. But there is machlokas in the, I think even the Shulchan Aruch brings on this machlokas. Does it mean 4 Shabbosos, only Shabbos, or does it mean 4 weeks and every day of the week? 20, no,
Even
30
if you
days.
say it means 4 weeks, you could say that the fact that it says Shabbos is sort of a remez that you would do it in a public place where everybody
In the
gathers.
shul. What's the
I don't
Rambam?
know.
How do you see? I don't know. According to the Rambam, how do you see that Abba Shabbos? How do you don't know that it means 4 weeks? How do you know that it means Batak Nisiyos? I don't know. According to the Rambam, I don't know. But it is brought down in Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam's opinion also, that it's 4 weeks b'chol yom.
Mhm.
Amar Rami Bachama. Pamayim Sholchan Lo Mi Bezdin. You sent her 2 times. It means going back to the Bryce. The Bryce says, besides announcing, it says also Sholchan Lo Mi Bezdin. They sent her a message to her that you should know that you can lose your entire ksuba. So how many times do they send her this message? In the Bryce before it said that they announced in the shul and that they sent her a message. So now he says you have to send 2 messages. Each time before you announce, before they announce, they say that they're going to announce in shul, they're going to announce that you're Meredith, and you should know that if you're going to keep this up, you're going to lose the whole ksuba. And also after the achroza, they do it again. Even though in the Bryce alone, you might just read it that after the achroza, then they inform her that she's going to lose ksuba if she doesn't give in. But you should know that you also sent her this message before the achroza. That's good. You don't look happy about something?
I mean, I only heard the first achraz, and they say that.
Yes, achroza. Besides achroza, there's also shulchan. I'll highlight it over here. Here it says machrizin Allah, and it also says shulchan bezdin. There's 2 things it says in the Brisa. You announce 4 Shabbosos in public, and you send her a message. You should know you're going to lose all your ksuba. So he says that as far as the machroza, that's in the shul. Fine. Next thing they say that this message Bezdin sends her is not just one time after the achroza. They send her to bed. They send a message to her. You can lose your ksuba if you don't give in. They also send her a message before the achroza. So every achroza has 2 messages. So they're going to be 4 achrozos. Let's say according to Rashi only on Shabbos, there's going to be 4 announcements, and there are going to be 8 messages sent her before and after each achroza.
How did the 2 work?
Before that, let's say achroza is on Shabbos, so Friday and Sunday, they'll send her a message to her house. The Bezdin comes, knocks on the
2
door.
for each achroza.
Right,
1
before and after each
for
achroza.
each one.
That's what it seems to say.
Okay.
I think it's what it means.
I was going
Unless
to
maybe it
ask
means
that.
one before the first and one after the last. No, maybe.
No, I thought.
Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. I think about it. I didn't think so, but now that the possibility, maybe it says he sent her 2 times. Maybe it doesn't mean before and after each achroza. Maybe it means before the first achroza and after the last achroza. Maybe.
And we're assuming that the husband, whatever reason, let's say she's the Meredith.
That's
For
the case
whatever
there.
she's the Meredith, the husband was not, didn't do enough wrong to warrant it.
Even if I think the Rambam says, even though she says because he did this and he did that, and all these things that he, he's whatever she wants to say about him. That's not a reason why she's allowed to be a Moredes. She should go to Bezdin, whatever, or go to the Shalom Bayis class, whatever, or someone should talk to the husband. But it's not a reason that doesn't permit her to do
Doesn't
Moredes.
permit her to be a Meredith.
Right. I think the Rambam says that if I can find it, I think he gives a couple of examples what she says. That's still not enough reason that she's allowed to be a
Something like
Moredes.
it's just ugly or something. What if he hits her or something? I don't know what examples did they give.
Let's see. I think this was Ishas, if I can find it. Ishas Yudalin.
It's not just out of the blue. It's obviously something that.
Here it says,
angry.
there's going to be a Gemara coming up later on if she says that he's disgusting to me. He's disgusting. That's something
Then
else.
why'd
We're not
she
talking.
marry him in the first place?
He wasn't disgusting. Now he became disgusting. But that's gonna be later on. But here it says, okay, we'll get to the Gemara Mios. But here the case is, she's doing it in order to pain him, and she says, because he did to me so and so, such and such,
Because he did to me such.
or because he cursed me, or because he made a fight with me, etc. All these reasons doesn't
All these reasons that just
justify.
made her anger.
Right, doesn't, even though she did, he did wrong. It's not that he did it wrong. Could be did wrong,
He did wrong.
but it's not just doesn't justify Moredas.
Very good. Okay.
Rabbi Miller calls this the 10 Commandments of marriage. He has a tape. You heard about that tape? It's a famous tape. 10 Commandments of marriage. He says 10 Commandments that it doesn't sound like the greatest marriage over there. When he talks about the 10 Commandments of marriage, it's his 10 Commandments. It's not nothing to do with Rabbi Miller. Nothing to do with the 10 Commandments. But he said he made up 10 things that's called the framework of marriage, and under no circumstances do you break it. And he gives us as one of them that they keep the framework of the marriage, even though it's rotten, but they still keep the framework. One is he always gives the parnasa. The husband gives parnasa, even though they're in the middle of a big fight. Of course, it sounds very, to me, it didn't sound good. The way he described it, like the whole thing is not going well. But he says, even though it's not going well, you should know the outermost misgeret remains. She goes to the mikveh, he brings the money, she makes supper, even though it's not good.
Within the miscarriage.
Within the misgeret. Keep the misgeret. He says that's the 10 Commandments of marriage. That's Rabbi Miller's thing. Okay, anyway. So this is a nice point. I didn't realize, not a possibility that it could be that the 2 times that you send is, I didn't look at the Shulchan Aruch on this point. Maybe it's only 2 times, or maybe each achroza has 2 times. I didn't look at that. I didn't look
I
at that.
remember from if I remember right from hearing his talks, he's one of the things he never talked the subject of divorce.
Yeah, the word divorce, never mentioned the word
Never
divorce.
mentioned it.
That's not one of the commandments over there. Okay.
The only one I remember.
Mhm. The next one. Darash, we're in the first line. Darash of Nachman, Bar of Chizda, Halacha Krabaseinu. The halacha like Krabaseinu means you don't do like the Mishnah, you do like Krabaseinu. The Mishnah says that you do the 7 zuz a week, and the Krabaseinu said you do the 4 achrozos, and then she loses everything. And also the message to the house, whatever, and then she loses everything.
That was one.
No, it's a-
28 weeks.
Yeah, here.
And this is a fast-moving process that they make announcements for weeks, and then she loses the whole thing. Also, that's one shot in the Gemara that halacha Krabaseinu against the Mishnah, and Amar Rava Hai Borcha, that this is a bad thing. That he doesn't agree. Borcha, whatever you say, Borcha means like this is not good. He doesn't agree to say halacha Krabaseinu. So Rashi learns the Gemara is talking about, do you do like the Rabbeinu do, or do you do like the Mishnah says? Do you go with the Mishnah process, the slow
Everything
track?
we just learned?
We had 2, 3. We had the Mishnah, we had Rabbeinu. The Mishnah said 7 days a week. Call that the slow track, and you had the fast track was 4 weeks, 4 Shabbosim with the announcing in public. So he's halach Rabbeinu. Rabbi said no. Borcha. There's another point that Tosfos learns that halach Rabbeinu in the contrast about, do you send her a message before the achraza? Means the Bryce that said, yeah, do achraza, send her a message that if you don't give in, you can lose the whole ksuba. And here it added on that you also send her before. So Tosfos learns the Gemara is going on this point. You also send her this message before the achraza. If you're not going to, 2 times. Pamayim shulchan la. Kodem achraza, ach achraza. The Bryce says ach achraza. So Tosfos learns that's what the Gemara's point is. Allah Krabaseinu that you just do it after, you just give the message to her only after the achraza. And Rabbi says, Borcha, that's a bad thing. Do it like Borcha. So Rashi said, what does Borcha mean exactly? Rashi says, Davar she'eino hagun. That's improper. I don't know what the word Borcha literally means. On the side, they also have some shatim over here. I said it just with Erech Malitza, like you say in Yiddish, it's a bruch. It's a Borcha, it's a bruch. Like it's like a break. It's a bad thing. He didn't agree. Amalei, he didn't agree on Halacha Krabaseinu.
That it's too fast, probably.
So I'm saying there are 2 shatim in the Gemara. Either it means that don't do like Krabaseinu, that do it so fast, do like the Mishnah, that
Takes
7
longer.
zuz. The other shot would be Halacha Krabaseinu, that you just have to announce it after, you also have to send her a message only after the achraza, not before the achraza. 2 shatim I learned in the Gemara.
Okay. But it
Amalei,
said Kohen.
what?
We had Kohen, Achas Kohen.
That was not that wasn't Krabaseinu. That was Rami Bachama said, different than the Bryce said. The Bryce said Machrizin v'Sholchem La. It doesn't say. So he said he sent her 2 times. So he says, "Lach Rabbi Seinu," not like Rabbi Bachama. And Rabbi said, "No, that's not good. Do like Rabbi Bachama." That's how Taisus learns. Amalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak, my book say, what's wrong with it? Anam Ritain Alei, Umishmei de Gavra Rabba Ritain Alei, Umane Besi Rabbi Chanina. I said it to him. I told let's make it Taisus' pshat that I told him. I told Rav Nachman Rav Chisda, Lachak Rabbi Seinu, and Anna Ritain Alei. I said it to him. I Rav Nachman Yitzchak said to Rav Nachman Rav Chisda, Lachak Rabbi Seinu, and Nehalei to him.
Oh, to him.
And I said it to him in the name of a big man. That who said Allah Rabbi Chanina? So that's why I said Allah Rabbi Chanina. Why, Rabbi? Why are you saying that it's a burqa? It's not a burqa. Rav Nachman, I said I told him in the name of Rabbi Chanina. So why are you saying that it's not good? The EU Keman Sava. Who does Rabbi hold like? Rabbi said that it's a burqa. Who does he hold like? Like we learned, Rabbi Amrav Sheshes Allah Chanim Ba. So Taisus learns the Mlachin Ba means that you take counsel of her, which would mean, in Taisus' pshat, that the fact that you ask her, that means that you tell her before the achraza. Taisus learns that the word Mlachin Ba means the same as saying that Kodem achraza. Kodem achraza is the same thing as the Mlachin. I'll try to highlight that, if it helps, that the Mlachin Ba, Kodem achraza is going to be the same thing as the Mlachin. That you ask her before. Don't just tell her afterwards they made achraza. You tell her before, we're going to make achraza if you don't give in. So Rabbi said that. So Rabbi Lishitasa holds that you're supposed to also announce before the achraza. You're supposed to tell her before the achraza. Don't just do Lachak Rabbi Seinu that you tell her after the achraza. Tell her also before. Rav Huna bar Avuda Amar Rav Sheshes Allah be'enim lachin ba Allah enim lachin ba. That he passes differently in the name of Rav Sheshes also. That he says also Lachak Rabbi Seinu enim lachin ba. You don't have to tell her before. You just tell her afterwards. End of that sugya. The malacha means to ask her. You ask her what she thinks. It means you tell her beforehand that if you don't give in, we're going to make an announcement on Shabbos. So
I thought that's the word like for changing mind. So it's like to help her change her
right.
mind.
Sometimes it means to change mind. Sometimes it means to take counsel to speak. New Gemara. Hechi dami moredes. What's a nice color over here? Hechi dami moredes. What's a moredes? So we know what moredes. We don't ready. It means tashmish. That's the tashmish. Surely it means also about food, maybe machlokes. But here the Gemara's talking about what we said, that maybe she says, I can't tolerate him. If she says, I want to pain him because he's this and this and this, a whole list of things that he is, that's why I want to pain him. That's one issue. And that's what it's called. That's called a meredes. And all those excuses are not justified a meredes. But really, I would like to have relations, but I want to pain him. Why? A list of 25 reasons. But I will amra moyas alai lo kafin Allah. But if she says he's disgusting to me, I can't have relations with him. He's disgusting. So then you don't force her. You don't force her, and what happens? You don't start minimizing her ksuba. What do? She gets a get, and the pasha and she loses ksuba. Here she loses the ksuba, but she has a right to say, "I'm not a moredes. I just can't have relations with him. He's disgusting. I can't. You can't force me to have relations." It's, if she really be in a lay, I really want him, but I want to pain him. Then she's a moredes. But if she says he's disgusting to me, his fault, not his fault, doesn't make a difference. I can't have to. So then she's not called a moredes. We don't force her to remain with him and make the pressure of all this.
He wouldn't have to pay the ksuba.
No, he wouldn't have to pay the ksuba.
He would have to pay.
I'm sorry.
I thought you said he
I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say. That he doesn't have to pay ksuba. She has a right to demand. That's what comes out. It means that if she says he's disgusting, then we could force him to give it. We don't force her to stay if she says she can't tolerate it. I think this might be a big loophole or leeway that the women could use against their husbands, that they're going to say he's disgusting. He's not disgusting, but she wants to force a get. So, but that's the point, that she doesn't. So look, that's what it seems to say. You don't force her to remain and pressure her by public pressure or by drawing it out for 28 weeks. Then she has the right to demand a get, but she doesn't get ksuba. And the poskim say, and if she makes a mention of ksuba, of money, so then you choshish that she has money issues. She wants to leave and get married to somebody else, and she's saying he's disgusting, but just because she wants. But if she doesn't mention any money, she just says I can't. So that means that we're not going to force her to have relations and try to pressure her. So then we'll force a get, but she loses the ksuba. Ma'azutra amar kafinala. Mercer doesn't hold, Mercer argues on that. Mercer says even if she says it's disgusting also, we still make the public pressure. Whatever we do, we minimize it, we draw it out, even though she says he's disgusting. There was such a story that the couple, she said that he's disgusting. And Mazutra, the Shitaso, he says that you do force her, even though she says he's disgusting. And he did the Shitaso. And the son born of that union was a good product. The son born after
This
that.
happened to Marzutra.
Mazutra was the Rav. Mazutra was the Rav. And a couple came. And she said he's disgusting, I want to get. And Mazutra didn't go for it. He said nothing doing. And
Rabbi Hanina, we saying a couple.
Rabbi Hanina Misura's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbi Hanina Misura's parents.
Oh, yeah.
It was a couple. The father of Rabbi Hanina Misura and the mother of Hanina Misura.
Yeah.
And early in marriage, she said he's disgusting and I want out. And Amazutra said nothing doing, and he pressured her to stay. And they stayed. And they had a son, Rabbi Hanina Misura. And the Gemara thinks that that's a good proof, that it's a good thing to do. But the Gemara says below, it's not a proof. Even though Rabbi Hanina Misura came out, it doesn't prove that it's a good thing to do. That was a special Siyata D'Shmaya to have such a son. I don't know what the whole right, what's the right either way. And if it would have not been a special Siyata D'Shmaya, said I had a good son, does that mean that you could force her to have relations if she says he's disgusting? Maybe the Gemara means that if it would have been disgusting, if it would continue being disgusting, wouldn't have come out such a son. A big chiddush that it wouldn't have come out such a son if the husband-wife relationship would have been disgusting.
What is below?
It's not so. It means don't prove from the fact that they had a son who's a great man that it's the right thing to do. My aim is right that you don't. If he says he's disgusting, you don't force her. And even though you had such a case of Hanina Misura was born of the union, that was a special Siyata D'Shmaya. That was a special heavenly assistance that had a big tzaddik. But usually I wouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Gemara is saying that the pashtus that if there was forcing and he really was disgusting in her eyes, then there wouldn't have been such a son. Is that a good shot?
No, maybe just because of Mazutra that he.
Yeah, that's the more saying. It's an exception. Don't bring it up. Yeah, but I'm saying that what's the point in the first place? Maybe he's a big tzaddik of a son, but the parents didn't have a good marriage.
I'm sure there's a lot of time like that.
So but then the Gemara's kasha wouldn't make sense. The Gemara seems if it wants to prove that Mazutra is right because you see they have such a son, so he's right that you're allowed to force her. What's the kesha? You shouldn't force because they can't have such a marriage if it's disgusting. And a good son came out. The Gemara seems to say that it doesn't go together. These things don't help. No, the Gemara says it's an exception.
That it does work.
Yeah, that it shouldn't work. The having the words that it shouldn't work. You shouldn't have such a son if you're having relations and he's disgusting in her eyes.
Yeah, but Mazush is posting differently.
Yes, but the Gemara wanted to. Yes, good.
So
Then the Gemara wanted to
wanted
prove. The Gemara wanted to prove Azutra because you see what kind of son came out of it. What's the proof?
Yeah,
That he had
a
this
special
big
son.
Yeah, what do you see? And you have special son. What do you see? That
Go ahead and force.
maybe it was disgusting to her, and they didn't enjoy being together. And the son came out. That's good. I think it's saying that it wouldn't happen only with a special heavenly assistance.
That's the answer.
That's not reality. We know that's not reality.
What's not reality?
That there's a lot of horrible marriages, and then they get tzaddikim coming out of them.
So then I don't know Pshat the Gemara then.
It can't be like that. There's a lot of very bad marriages, and then all of a sudden the kids grow up with very special.
So then I don't know Pshat the Gemara.
That's just normal. You see that.
What?
What do you mean disgusting?
That I can't tell. Yeah, whatever you want. I can't be with him. I can't have intimacy with him.
So it's not Teshuvah. It could be easy. He's the nicest guy, but he went through a car accident. He looks disgusting.
Whatever, maybe that. Yeah. But
There
okay.
are a couple of stories about tzaddikim who helped couples to get their thing. For instance,
Yeah, that's
they were
okay.
divorced because they had no children.
No. So those things that have no problem with each other. Not saying they're disgusting. We're talking about that she says he's disgusting. Are we going to try to pressure her to have relations anyway?
Even there, that great man, Mazucha was a great tzaddik. He figured that they could work it out, even though it's at this point it's disgusting.
And that's what I'm saying. I think Gemara wants to prove it from the fact that there was a child that came out that was such a child. So I'm asking.
There is a question.
That's what I'm asking. That's the question. Is that a proof? Is that?
It's
We
a
push it
proof,
up
but
and
in
say-
this case, it's a proof, but it might not be
That-
for
yeah,
somebody
right.
else.
That's what the Gemara says, that Siyata Dishmaya was a special Siyata Dishmaya. I'm asking, without any special Siyata Dishmaya, is that the way it is? That if the parents think that they're disgusting to each other, can it not come out a good child?
Oh, if they're discussing, can it not come out a good child?
The Gemara
Without
seems to say, the
Siyata.
Gemara seems to say the nature of things would be,
Moshe says
there wouldn't be a
for
big
sure
Siyata
can
coming
come
out
out.
if they would be
You
disgusting
see
to
that.
each other.
You see divorced people.
That's what the
and
Gemara wants to prove. You
Yeah,
see that he made it work. He pressured her and they had a relation and everything left happily ever after.
They suffer.
That's what the Gemara seems to say. How do you know that they have happily ever after? How do you see? How do you see? Because that's such a son.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm asking, is that so?
I would think so.
Moshe doesn't think so.
I would think so,
If you're
because
not paying attention,
normally if
what's
they're
wrong with that?
discussing,
Why shouldn't they have such a kid? She decided to be psycho.
So that's what it seems to be the most talking about. This seems to be the discussion. Is it possible to have a great man come out of a union if the parents are disgusting to each other? They had relations
it-
under
the
a state
natural
of
way-
disgust.
The natural way would be no.
Right, that's what the Gemara
I would
says.
say
and Moshe is
Kesuvos,
saying-
no, but if it's just disgusting, why not?
So I'm asking,
I can tell you
I'm asking, what is the
I can
Gemara
give a
saying?
swore.
What is the Gemara saying?
My swore is that if they're discussing in Tashmit, they're gonna be discussing the way they relate to each other in life. And so when they're raising this kid, he's growing
Huh.
up in an environment of disgust. So that's not conducive. to
And Moshe is
becoming
going
a
to say that he
Talmud
knows stories that there were all kinds of
So
disgusting
I'll say
atmospheres.
that
and-
that's Siyata Dishmara.
Each
You know,
one-
all these basics, all these
Okay.
stories he knows, they're probably Siyata
Well,
Dishmara.
Jacques is going to say all those stories were special Siyata Dishmaya. That's not the nature of things.
Gedolim, so the Gedolim, they
Parents
had,
didn't get along. They didn't have great matches. And then they go up to pizza.
well, so then you have to look at how they reacted in their house, I would say.
Okay, that's today's daf.